show, mate?
A few boos.
A few boos.
Who was that?
Loyalists, who can say, mate?
Mate, you get used to that after a while, don't worry about it.
Okay, if you like that one, you're going to love this. Our first special guest. Some call him the architect of a new era in rugby league. Others feel he's done for rugby league what the Kobe earthquake did for town planning. Please welcome John Rebo. Okay, I think that calls the shots pretty clearly. There's all sorts of feelings running hot, going wild today. John, a big announcement from News Limited. What's going on?
Terry, very much so, and I think that we've had a vision at Super League to take the game to the world, and that was announced today that Great Britain are now coming in line with us. They're having a Summer League competition next year, and that will culminate in their best teams playing our best teams in a World Super League competition. So I think that's very exciting for our game.
But how soon can we expect to see all of this? Are we still really waiting on court battles, or what's the story?
Well, unfortunately, I think there is some battles to continue there, and from our point of view, if things were to come to fruition from the courts in our favour, we're ready to play football next year. So we're excited about that. If that doesn't happen, 1997 is fine by us, but it's definitely going to happen. That's the main thing.
That's the main thing. Okay, well, a man who's at the centre of the Super League storm, both ARL and News Limited were throwing bucket loads of money to try and sign him. Welcome the most sought-after footballer in the world, live from Canberra, Ricky Stewart. G'day, Ricky.
That's all they're doing.
Mate, cheers and boos all round, but mostly cheers for you there. How are you feeling about your decision?
I'm very happy, mate. It was a very big decision, but I'm very happy with the competition I know I will be playing in.
Okay, mate, the big offer that was waved at you was the Australian captaincy. Did that weigh heavily upon you at the time?
Mate, there was a lot of pressure over this week. I was invited into the league to speak to the Australian Rugby League regarding their competition. I thought I'd pay my two representative coaches in Bozo and Gus the respect of going in and listening to what they had to say, and as I said, I'm so delighted that all the pressure's off now by me making my decision today.
Ricky, it's Wally Lewis. It must be a terrible decision for footballers to have to make, all the money aside, of course, but to have to put aside something like paying for Australia, perhaps, to look after yourself, it must be a terrible decision to have to make.
Wally, believe it or not, the money wasn't a major factor because either side it was going to be there. The decision I had to make was one, that I'm happy with the competition that I was playing in. Two, for the Canberra Raiders, I had to think about all the boys back home here when I was at the league last week. Well in my mind was the loyalty that I have to show to the Canberra public here for the Canberra Raiders, and all the boys that I play with. We're all very close friends, and there's obviously got to be a lot of loyalty shown there. So, like I said, I had to think about the competition. I mean, there was talk there at one stage that players wouldn't be playing football for a year to 2 years. You know, we could be expelled out of the competition, so I had to weigh that all up. But I'm very confident that the Super League will kick off in 1996, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, Ricky, Mike. Ricky, of course, the late news today is that Ken Arthurson has said that the three sides threatened with expulsion will be in the competition for the remainder of the season, which is good. Now, tell me, what do you see as the essential difference between the Super League and the Sydney-based ARL competition?
Well, I think with the less amount of teams, Mike, you're going to get a higher quality of game. The players that have been signed by the Super League are all of high quality. And I think you see with State of Origin football the quality of a match there. For example, there's never a lot of points and a lot of difference in scores in a State of Origin. And it's a matter of getting those games week in, week out. I mean, television matches will probably basically be the same. You get Friday night game, your Saturday game, your Sunday, major games, and it's going to be a game of football with a lot of interest at it. You won't get teams winning by 30 or 40 points. It's going to be a very close encounter, and I think that quality of football will only benefit the players because it's more enjoyable playing in a high intense match. There is a lot of intensity, a lot of interest from the crowds, and yeah, the support will be great for the Super League because, as I said, the games are going to be better to watch.
Yeah, Ricky Mel here.
Hey,
How you going,
George, look at those two chins, mate.
Mate, obviously a Raiders man at heart, and it's great to see you involved in the Super League, of course, and also from a Canberra's point of view, the team rock solid behind the project. It must be great now to get on with football.
Yeah, that's right, Mel, and it was good to be able to make the decision today because we had a training session this afternoon, and I've got to put back in the front of my mind now that we've got St George this weekend, and very important that we can get the win. And we started tonight by a very good training session, and all the pressure's off now. We've all made our decisions, and we're all happy with them. And as you know yourself, Mel, I mean, I'm very tied up with the Canberra Raiders, and I want to be a part of the Canberra Raiders for the rest of my life. And I've got an opportunity now. I'm very involved in the club, and as yourself, you've got to show loyal to your fans and your players, loyalty to your fans and players.
Anyway.
The big question, it seems, countrywide though, Ricky, public reaction, it seems to be divided either side of the fence. What's it like in Canberra? A lot of people we find here in Sydney are probably a little bit leaning towards the Australian Rugby League side of things, although things are turning around a little bit now. How is it in ACT though?
Well, obviously, I think the interest is very high in what's happening with the Super League and the ARL debate at the moment. Mate, I've been lucky that I've been able to hear both sides of the equation with listening to the ARL and listening to the Super League talks, and I think everybody in Canberra is very happy that they're going to have a team to support, and Canberra's going to have 10 to 12 home games here each year, and they've still got their team that they can get out there on the weekend and support. There was a chance there where there may not have been a Canberra Raiders team, and we would have been all split up and playing for different clubs. And the most important part about it is that I'm still involved here with the Raiders and all the boys.
Okay, Ricky, we wish you the very best of luck with your decision. Ladies and gentlemen, wish him luck. Ricky Stewart.
Thanks very much.
We would like to mention that despite having...
Tonight, we just wanted to put our point of view across, and once they heard that, the players have been very supportive. I spoke to the Brisbane players today. They're totally behind it now with Ricky on side with the rest of the Canberra Raiders side. It really is an exciting time, and you are going to see the best of the best now. That the best players are going to be playing the best players every week.
Fair enough, mate. We're going to hear from a lot of those players when we come back with more Super League.
Didn't want to at first, but he seemed such a nice guy. I didn't want to be left out, especially when all my mates were doing it. So I did it. I signed.
What? Star League?
No, to Amway. What about all those tournaments?
Hey, big business is everywhere. Welcome back to the Hard Yards Super League special. Please welcome the first casualty of war in yesterday's big war, Illawarra Steelers coach Graham Murray. Graham, maybe I've overstated there. You're on the dole. What's happened to you, mate?
I'm out of a job, Terry, and I'm looking for a coaching job.
Okay, well, there's a bloke next to you looking for a couple of coaches. Yeah, well, the situation, I mean, talks about meetings down at the Continental Baths, an extraordinary place to meet for a start. Do you think the spy versus spy sort of nature of the whole thing has made people a bit paranoid, or what?
I guess so, but, Super League wanted to speak to me, and what I did is I told them I wanted to meet them on neutral grounds, which would, they accepted, and they wanted that too. And then I met them at 7 o'clock, and the players then, I indicated the players that I was meeting with them, and then I said if you wanted to go there was an opportunity to talk to them and try and get their side of the story. That's what I've done. I'm guilty of probably looking to get the options from both sides, for myself and for the players.
Well, what about it, Mal? We've heard similar allegations towards Peter Mulholland. Do you feel there's some people being caught in the middle of this?
Well, I think that obviously Graham's been victimised in a sense where he's trying to look after the players' interests more than anything. He has had no formal role with the Super League. He just wanted to make sure the players had heard the ARL's version in comparison to the Super League version. So I can't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, well, one player who's been at odds with his club this week is with us live now from Newcastle, Captain Mark Sargent. Hey, Mark. Mark, what's the latest for you and for Newcastle, mate? Are you still at odds?
Well, I'm not at odds with the club, but a number of, or the majority of our first grade squad have signed with the ARL. I didn't really want to do that at such short notice, and I've held out. And at this stage, I'm still I'm not in either camp, so I'm still considering my options, I suppose.
Michael O'Connor, I know a number of your players signed. They were enticed to sign with the ARL with the promise of playing representative football. How do those players stand now when they really have no representative football to play?
Well, mate, you know, the guys are at training tonight, and obviously there's a fair bit of consternation for the guys that have signed. You know, there's some pretty nervous little huddles tonight, so all that sort of stuff's still up in the air. So, you know, I don't really know what the position is for those guys, or whether they've got a way of overcoming that problem.
Sarge, it's Wally Lewis here. Do you find that there's a lot of upset blokes at training? Like, obviously there's got to be a fair bit of concern with it. The coaches must have the hardest job trying to get the players' minds back on the job for the weekend footy, but do they have much trouble trying to get that right out of their minds at all?
Oh, mate, it's pretty difficult. I mean, you know yourself as a player, and having been a coach, as soon as blokes finish training, they usually hit the tail. We had guys hanging around for ages after training tonight, sort of discussing what their situation was. So you know, it's pretty difficult to completely shut it out of your mind. And you know, we've got a Saturday game this week, so that makes it probably a little bit more difficult.
Mark, we wish you luck with your preparation for this weekend's game. Thanks for talking to us tonight, Mark Sargent. What about it? Cricket's been through this some years ago.
Sign up for a 10-year loyalty agreement and we'll pay you $10,000. I think
It's no good. I had 3 nephews lined up.
it's important from our point of view to get right into the grassroots level and put the money and the resources into the schools, the junior football, into referees, into coaching. So we have a guaranteed future for our game.
Isn't that all run by the ARL at the moment, Buck?
Well, it is, but Michael, I'll give an example with my previous employment with the Broncos. We believe that if you're going to have a good development program, it's going to guarantee your playing staff down the track, and if you have a good image out there in the marketplace. We spent last year $750,000 on development of juniors in our recruitment program. Very important. So you let kids have the opportunity to come through, enjoy football, not get paid for football at 15 years of age, and get on and have the opportunity to play, hopefully, in the Super League.
Well, right, let's take a look at the fruits of your work, because live from Broncos headquarters, the bloke you know, the Hard Yards own Glenn Lazarus, ladies and gentlemen. G'day, Lazo. Good, mate. Would you go along with all of that?
Certainly do.
Certainly.
No worries at all.
Fair enough, mate. What's the feeling up for the Broncos? We just spoke to Mark Sargent, who's sort of at odds with his club. We heard about different players saying, no, one in, all in with the Broncos, that the whole club's going that way.
Yeah, exactly, and that was probably one of the main concerns with the club up here, that we all stuck together. We didn't want to break up what now we believe is a very close-knit club, and we had a bit of a lunch today, and everyone decided that they're 100% behind the Super League, and we're 100% now committed to it.
Glenn, Michael O'Connor, once the Broncos signed en masse with the Super League, what was the ARL doing up there during the week? What were they offering?
Well, mate, when we paid them the common courtesy of listening to what they had to say, and when we heard the Super League's version, so we wanted to hear what the ARL had to say. Of course, they offered money and all that sort of thing, representative football, but the thing is, we signed contract to the Super League, and we're just committed to them, and we've decided that we're not going to even try and get out of it.
Lazo, do you think it's Wally? Do you think that was a promotional stunt, mate? Because I believe it really was meant to be just a secret meeting between the league officials and the Broncos, and all of a sudden there was about 60 or 70 media representatives turned up there with cameras everywhere.
Well, it certainly looked that way. We were contacted as individuals to meet them at the airport. They said that there was no rooms available in Brisbane because of some big conference, so we agreed to do that, and as soon as we stepped foot in the airport, there were cameras everywhere. But I thought we handled it all right, but something that was supposed to be a secret certainly wasn't.
Okay, Glenn, I know one bloke you spoke to one-on-one last week was Willie Kahn. Let's see how that went.
Well, we've all heard about the amounts of money that have been banded around. Other than the money, what else was the major influence for Willie Kahn to sign up the Super League?
Well, obviously, lads, it's all about money, and our money in the game for so long, and when I do decide to retire, I know there's something there for me.
Okay, the most important people in the game, the fans, what do they get out of all this?
Well, obviously, it's a better game of football. It's not going to be 30-point margins week in and week out, which we're seeing now.
Well, what's the best thing that's come out of this whole dilemma over the past 5 days?
I signed with the Super League, the alternative league, and I think, obviously the RL have kicked up a stink and they had to start fighting back, and we've really seen them taking dollars out of their pockets to really make sure that the players and the league is looked after the way it should have been maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
In 10 years' time, I say this. Super League is saying that they've got a lot of signatures, and that's true. I mean, they've probably got almost as many signatures as the Australian Rugby League has, but it's a lot different from having signatures and having players. The fact is that of 48 players that I've looked at have signed contracts with the Super League, 13 of them come off contract at the conclusion of 1995, another 24 in 1996, another 8 in 1997. So really, I just don't know where they're going to get the players from. It's going to be some years before they can, because bear this in mind, all those players are contracted to their clubs from periods of 2 to 5 years. In turn, the clubs are contracted to the Australian Rugby League. Now, I'd just like to make comment on the report tonight that, or late this afternoon, that the New Zealand Rugby League and the English Rugby League had signed to play with the Super League or be involved with the Super League. For a start, if it's true about New Zealand, I just want to say that it's probably one of the most deceitful and dishonourable acts that I've ever known, because the bloke never even picked up the phone and advised his colleagues here in Australia or the International Board that that's what he was going to do. But just before I came here tonight, 2 members of the New Zealand Rugby League Council phoned me and said, "We don't know anything about it. We've never been consulted."
So in fact you're saying that the English Rugby League and the New Zealand Rugby League haven't sorted?
Well, that's the New Zealand Rugby League. Just as I walked in tonight, I've received a fax from Morris Lindsay saying Mr. Cowley has jumped the gun. The British Rugby League has denied it has already agreed to form a summer Super League. This follows the claim from Mr. Cowley that they would be involved in forming a European Super League. So, I think that we should get all these things clarified before we start. To answer your question, Paul, in my view, they're going to be hard-pressed.
Well, John, what's the Super League all about? Isn't it all about money? Rupert Murdoch taking over the game, putting his football on pay television and then charging the public money to, of course, watch that football? Isn't it all about the fact that some players have signed some contracts, just unbelievable money, $600,000, $700,000. They're walking around saying it's for the better of the game, the best games, you see the best games on television, the standard will improve. All this isn't the reason they're smiling because they're earning $600,000, $700,000 a year.
No, Paul, I think that we've always had a vision about taking the game to the world.
What's your vision for the world? I mean, what about in Australia?
Well, Australia's going to be a very important part of that, and the players, we sat down months ago and put budgets together about where we want to take this game, how we're going to take this game. We put some financial models together, what we believe we can afford to pay the players, because I think what's happened in the past, Paul, if I give you an example of, let's have a look at Melbourne last year. There was a State of Origin game on there. 88,000 people turn up to watch a game of football. The players get $1,000 or $3,000. I think it's something like 2% of the gate went back to the players. I think that is terribly unfair. I think the players have been shortchanged in this whole rugby league fiasco over the last few years.
That's fine, John. What about division? Like you're talking about taking the game global. I hear that all the time. The word that we hear from you people, whether it's Chris Johns, yourself, or anybody from the News Corp organisation, is vision. What is taking the game global going to do for these people here or those people that are watching this particular show? You tell them.
It's going to give them the best possible product.
Is it?
So they'll get the opportunity.
So you've got at the moment, let's go for it, Brisbane, Cronulla, Canberra, Canterbury, Auckland Crushers and Western Reds on your books, right? Have you? Now, let me finish, right? So you're talking about the competition isn't structured the right way. Is that particular structure there okay?
You don't know what our structure is.
I don't. I've got a fair idea. I've been sort of camera and tongue for the last week.
Can I make a comment there on behalf of the players as well? You just made a statement saying the Super League has come in and made $600,000 contract offers to players to try and make them jump. Well, that's true. John did come in and address us and told us what the Super League was about. But then, after that, the Australian Rugby League have come back in and made unbelievable offers, right, of money. If our players were going to jump at money, they'd have jumped straight back to the ARL and taken the contracts with the ARL. What our players did, we sat down and looked at what News Corporation said what they were going to offer us.
Now, well, what is
They sat down. Things that we.
What is it?
Well, let me finish, Fatty. Don't keep asking me. We were told, right? We've asked our players' union to approach the Australian Rugby League on numerous occasions on things such as superannuation, trying to look after our players when we finish playing football. Things like if a player gets injured, clubs not being able to walk away from contracts. Like John Rebo's organisation has come to us and said, if I walk out of this organisation here, get run over by a truck and can't play football for the next 3 years, the first year that I'm playing football, I'm guaranteed all of my money. The next year, I'm guaranteed 50% of my money. The year after that, all the years I've signed for, I'm guaranteed 50% of my money. These are the sort of things that they came to us and said, this is what we want to do. We want to put a player, right, out of all the players, put them on the board of the News Limited board and get our input back into the game. Things we've been asking for. They want to put a coach on the board, put their input back into it. Now, if the Australian Rugby League...
So in 3 years' time, just say the Super League doesn't get off the ground, and what have you got then?
Paul,
where are you?
Paul, the Super League's here to stay. There's no doubt about that.
John,
it's here to stay.
What about the legal aspects, John?
Well, hang on.
Paul,
You've asked me about... excuse me. You've asked me about a vision. You've asked me... And everyone keeps interrupting. Can I finish?
It's the first time we interrupted, John.
Can we have a crack at this? The vision is about taking the game to the rest of the world. It's about giving the patrons and the fans a better deal than what they've had in the past.
What a load of crap. It's all about paid television, John. It's all about lining people's pockets with money. And for you to sit here and say anything different is just an absolute Chris, I heard what you said, okay? Ian Roberts,
let me finish what you're saying.
It's going to be a bunk file, or we
just let John finish.
I'm sick of hearing all this crap. It's rubbish.
Listen, you're all like the ARL, right? What are they
it's
doing?
not my organisation. I mean, you're not your commentator. You haven't signed anyone here in the panel. You haven't signed anyone here yet.
Listen to it. Instead of screaming, the ARL, right, their organisation, who's in with the ARL? Like Kerry Packer's put $28 million. Oh, that's what I read in the newspaper. I'm not sure if he's put more in. That's what it said in the newspaper. $28 million wouldn't pay for Manly and Canberra players what the ARL have been offering them. So,
now, hang on a second. Chris, okay, Chris, losing debate. You talk about Manly players. Ian Roberts came to an agreement and will be with Manly for 3 more years. He stands to earn $1 million from Super League, or Star League as it was previously known, for not lacing on a boot. Just so they can put his picture on the back page of the Telegraph Mirror and the Courier Mail.
Right, but that's not true. That is not true.
Geez, it sounds sincere, John, but you're going to do a little more better than that to convince me.
Hang on. You've just got to get your facts straight. You're just throwing figures willy-nilly.
Ian Roberts didn't earn $900,000 from you people for 3 years.
No. For 3 years?
Yeah. $330,000 a year.
Ian Roberts, he'd have to play football with us. What are you talking about, $900,000?
Well, I spoke to Ian Roberts last night. Ian Roberts came in, he was just astounded by the offer, right, of $900,000 net for 3 years, and he's got a 3-year contract with Manly to go. And Ian Roberts told me that, and I tell you, if you want to get Ian Roberts on a phone over in the Centro Hotel in Auckland, I tell you what, he'd back that up.
I'm telling you, exactly what Ian Roberts told me.
Right. Can we get... All right.
That's all I'm repeating.
If this is what Ian said, Ian Roberts has a commitment to the Manly Football Club, which we believe he should honour, and at no stage have we asked a player to breach a contract.
No, I'm not saying that. No, well, we're talking about offering a person to go with your organisation, right? Whether it's obviously not to play because he's tied with us for 3 years. Yeah. So it might be after that. What is he going to,
Is he entitled to a living?
So you're not saying that you didn't offer that?
Huh? We offered him a contract after his commitments to Manly finished. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Can we get back to... Please, John. I'd just like to... I would really like to answer the first question. We're 20 minutes into the program. I haven't answered the first question yet about the vision of the game. The people out there deserve better than what they've got in the past. We want to take the game, lift the profile of the game, give people a state of origin type game every week. We believe, as I said earlier, we've put our financial models together. We've taken the game and we've sold it to other channels, or asked other channels what they believe is a fair price for the TV rights, and we might just stay on that. The TV rights, as I understand at the moment, are paid something like $12 million. First time it's gone around just to get an evaluation of our product of rugby league, taking it to the world, it came back at $24.5 million. These guys are centre stage. Don't they deserve to get a better deal than what they have in the past? With the concept we propose, a 10-team concept, so the people out there are going to get better stadiums to go and watch football at. They're going to have better class of football. We're not going to have 30-0 results, so they can go there, watch the best football every second week, still have their state of origin, still have their test match football. The whole thing improves. Everyone out here is a winner.
Well, John, you are going to have 30-0 scorelines. That was shown by the fact Norths and Manly came up with that scoreline only a couple of weeks ago. One thing you can't do in sport is get that evenness every weekend. I just want to know, John, where are you going to get your players? I understand that. I'm a fan of the Super League concept, and I think that's where the ARL have been heading as well. I think the best of the best is a great way to go. But what I want to know, you're talking about a state of origin contest every week. Where are you going to get the players?
The players are fine. As I said, we've committed to this. This thing is not going to go away.
How many players
it's not going to go away.
Can you tell us how many players
We have in excess of 100 players, well in excess of 100 players.
But Reeves, if say the Super League was going to start 1996, you've got...
But your time is starting in 96.
Well, I'm just saying, like we've heard statements from people within your organisation saying that.
Mr. Murdoch said it today.
All right, so we've got Brisbane, Cronulla. Well, let's go to the top. Let's go Brisbane, Canberra, Canterbury, right? Then we go Auckland, Crushers, Western Reds, Cronulla. What sort of competitions are they?
There'll be other franchises.
Yeah, sure, but where are you going to get the players from?
Bob, we've got the players.
All right, okay. Well, if you've got the players, that you must be doing.
Can I just ask a question?
Sorry,
through you, Fatty?
Yes, Ken.
Can I just ask this? John, I know you've got a lot of signatures, but you haven't actually got the players, because what I'm saying to you is that those players, Ian Roberts, for example, that we were just talking about a moment ago, he's signed for 3 years to another club. Now, he can't play for you for at least 3 years. Now, there's plenty of players in that actual situation. So where are they going to come from?
So I think Chris is probably in the same position. I wonder, Chris, whether you think you get a chance to play Super League.
Well, as you said, like I'm contracted for 1996, and I have to fulfil my obligation to the ARL, which I will, and that's what I have to do. But if it comes in 1997, I'll play it. But I just have to sit back and see what's going to happen.
All right, I'll tell you what, this has been good fun. You like it? We're going to take a break now. Reeves and Chris are hanging around to cop some more stick. And after this, we'll be back with more of the footy show.
The guys that have signed, believe in the Super League.
No, I'm happy. League is here to stay.
I want to play.
Can you explain to us, there's of course a court case coming up on May the 5th. Can you explain to us the legalities of this whole thing, Super League versus the ARL?
Yeah, well, in terms of the court case, it's a battle over the loyalty contracts, but loyalty is an emotive word. It's really a contract situation. And whereas you can set a contract aside quite easily between a player and a club, you can't set a contract between a club and the league aside very easily. I think the ARL will win that round because these were big boys entering a contract with their eyes open. And I'd be putting my money on the ARL in that round.
So, Chris, it's a corporation against a corporation as opposed to an individual employee against an employer.
An uneducated footballer given a standard form agreement can easily go to an industrial court and get it set aside if it disadvantages him. But where big corporations with lawyers get together and sign an agreement, and the spirit of the agreement's clear, it's very hard to defeat it.
Chris, just without seeing the Super League or Star League contracts as they were then known, offering a player a cash incentive and then saying you've got 2 hours to sign it, I mean, we've heard the word duress used. Would that be, without being specific, would that sound like duress to you as a lawyer?
Yeah, the money's not enough. A court will look at all aspects, and they'll even go back and rewrite a contract. But it's a difficult situation as far as that young bloke's concerned. If you buy a house and you pay $200,000 for it, you get a lawyer and it takes you a month. When a man comes in and puts a form under your face, hands you money, that's easy to set aside.
Well, John, legally, where do you know where you stand legally?
Well, obviously, we're not going to offer contracts if we don't think they're legal and binding. So,
But what about the concept of offering them the contract and saying you've got 2 hours to sign it?
Right. Well, you're saying we had 2 hours to sign
Well, it's been, I mean, the players have admitted that. Players have admitted that in Perth last Friday night they had that opportunity. Is that true or not?
All you do, if you don't like the contract and you're not happy with the cash inducement, as you call it, you walk away. No one had him in a headlock.
But did you give them 2 hours to sign? I mean, is that true or not?
If a player didn't sign, he hops up off the chair and opens the door and walks out.
But did you say to them, you've got 2 hours to come back? You didn't.
I
Not to
wasn't
any
there.
player.
I haven't. I signed
Did
up.
anyone from New Zealand to do that,
Hey,
that you know?
Ray, I've signed probably 70, 75 players, and I must say it's been a fantastic experience for me just talking to the players and going through the concept, and to them they've been so excited.
John, I'm not casting aspersions on you. I know how you deal in business, but I'm talking about other people who were at Birdswood Casino last Friday night saying to players, if you sign this by 2 o'clock, tomorrow morning there'll be 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 or 50,000 in it for you. That's not the way you conduct business. I'm asking you, it is the way your organisation or other members of your organisation conduct business.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question? I think Mr. Murphy made a very, very valid point when he said it's difficult to break the agreement between the clubs and the league. Now, I asked the question a few moments ago, which I didn't get the answer to. You were probably interrupted, but I said if you don't win this case, I mean, News Corporation have again to contest these contracts with the clubs. Now, if you're unsuccessful in that, and it appears quite likely you would, because here's a very eminent legal man has said that you're going to be hard-pressed to do so, I keep asking you, where are you going to get the players from? You can't get them if the contracts are held to be valid and those players are contracted to the clubs. Just tell me where you're going to get them from. That's what I can't understand.
We're sitting here getting a view from someone who is employed by Chris, who does work for your organisation.
That is incorrect. I'm under contract to Channel 7.
Right.
I'm owned by no one.
Chris.
Unlike yourself, I'm not owned by Rupert Murdoch.
Right. You've come...
They're not going to put gold in my pocket. I don't work for Mr. Packer either.
All right, Chris, that statement wasn't correct from my point of view.
You're owned.
Yeah. What I'm
You are
saying
talking
is,
through your
Chris,
pocket.
Chris, no, I'm not.
You are toying through your pocket. You're shaking the life out of this noble institution called Rugby League. You're shaking the life out of it so that Mr. Murdoch, an American citizen, can take profits back there that we put back into the game to help kids.
Chris, we'll just go through something here. From your point of view, you give me an opinion. You're entitled to an opinion. We have another opinion. So we believe we're right. We're going to take that as far as we have to. As I keep saying, Super League's not going to go away. We talk about development. This game and where we're taking this game is about grassroots stuff also. It's not just top end. We want to develop the juniors. If I could just give you an example of what I've done in the past, I've been involved with the company in the past with the Brisbane Broncos. That we have a huge development program. Part of this has been a passion from Ken Cowley. He said we must put something back into the game.
I'm talking about businessmen making profits.
You're
going to milk a valuable public thing that provides the young.
John, let's be fair, right?
John, you've taken away the traditions. I mean, the traditions of young people. How are the kids going to aspire to play for Australia now? It's taken away from them now.
We believe we all have the opportunity for players that become involved with our organisation to play for their country, to play for their state, and we'll have an enormous competition there.
But what are you going to play for? Everyone who plays for Australia now plays for the Ashes series. What are you going to play for now? That's the most important thing in rugby league.
Hey, Flocker, it's going to be the same. Australia's going to play England. Australia's going to play New Zealand.
It's going to be back to London every week.
Well, hang on.
Yeah, did you read this?
Everybody here.
Did you read that tonight? I'll say it again. The British Rugby League has denied it has already agreed to even form a summer Super League.
Let's try and
there it is. There's the facts. It's
John, let me maybe say, get some positives out of it. Now, you must admit that the easy thing if you're a businessman to do would be get the ARL to run the rugby league, and you people can have your profits from pay television. Surely, you must appreciate that in a business sense, it'd be much easier to get the ARL to control the game and the infrastructure and the junior structure, surely.
Right, they've told us they don't want us involved. We came through the front.
But you've been calling people lax for a week, mate.
Hang on, we'd have to sign a 5-year loyalty agreement. If I walked down the road and spoke to anyone from News Limited with my previous company, I was threatened with expulsion. My company was threatened with expulsion from the
I don't
league.
like interrupting, but I must take you to task there. That's not right, mate. Now, look, what we did say to the clubs was that we didn't think that it was right that you should be talking to News Corporation about a Super League proposal. What we were saying is that Super League proposal should have come to us. Now, Mr. Cowley did say that if there were going to be any proposals, and I use his words, they would be through the front door of the Australian Rugby League. Now, that hasn't happened. We made no objection at all. In fact, I knew you were talking to News Corporation, and I made the statement, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're entitled. You're entitled to go and talk to them if they're your sponsor. But you're certainly not entitled to be talking about leaving our organisation and going and forming a rebel
Just
one.
before you get to that... Let's go back to my... Just finish that. Back to my point, the 5-year loyalty agreement, clubs had to come in and please explain if they had discussions about a Super League. You're going to expel them out of the competition. Can I go back to the development question I was asked 5 minutes ago?
You haven't answered me the question on where you get the players yet. I still don't know where you get the players.
Look, let's forget that. Look, I think one of the saddest things that have happened with all this Super League, and we see evidence of it tonight, are the friendships, some of them 20, 30 years long, that have gone out the back door here. We were just on the subject of conciliation. We've got people here who can answer that. Do you guys see any chance down the track of some conciliation in this?
We said from day one that we would have liked to have come in here, and the olive branch was always there. We wanted to talk. If we could be of assistance to each other, where we could use our expertise and the expertise of the league, we didn't have a problem with that.
John, your intention right from the start is to force the hand of the Australian Rugby League to come into your hands and the hands of Rupert Murdoch. The stormtrooping talent recruitment exercise that News Corporation took on last week, the methods of your negotiation, the way you went about it. I've been extremely heavily involved in negotiations on behalf of the Australian Rugby League this week. We have had more than a dozen players come to our offices and loads more phone us on telephones to tell us of the manner in which these negotiations took place. This is not about football, it's about money. It's about you people getting out in the marketplace to gather as much numbers as possible to force the hand of the Australian Rugby League to join you in what it is you have proposed for paid TV. The thing that exaggerates that for me is in the last couple of days, in the mad scurry to get the numbers up, some of the signings your people have made bear no resemblance to the methodology of getting together a Super League. Signing 32-year-old footballers who were thinking of giving the game away to $180,000 and $200,000 contracts for 1998 and 1999. Poor old Les Davidson came into me and he said, "Is this for real?" And I said, "Mate, it's just a Christmas present." He said, I don't understand what this is all about. We had one chief executive ring me today, and I don't want to embarrass the player because he has been a great player for a long time, Steve Edmed. He said that I was going to offer Steve Edmed $40,000 maybe to have one more season next year. Steve Edmed just signed an agreement with the Super League for $1 million for 3 years. I mean, I don't see where that is getting together a talented Super League competition with the concept that you have. I just say that in the last week... Excuse me. I'm telling you what Mr. Barnes told me today. Now, excuse me. I have been heavily involved in negotiations for the past week on behalf of the ARL. We have received tremendous support. We have signed players from the age of 15 years of age through to the internationals of great standing in this game. We have a competition. And we have a basis for a competition. Now, Ricky Stewart, when he signed his contract last Saturday morning, told me that the person he negotiated with, he said to the negotiator, the Australian Rugby League are not going to take this lying down, and the negotiator says, we want them to run the game. And they are his exact words.
There you go, John.
I have never seen more greed. I've seen enough greed and enough treachery in the last 2 weeks in this game to last me a lifetime.
Hear, hear.
Phil, you have to agree that is from both sides.
That is what money creates, Chris, and that's what this is about. This is about money.
And that's what I'm saying. Let's take the money right out of it. Let's bring it all back.
If the money was right out of it, no one would be considering a Super League.
We're all sitting here talking about a Super League.
Fellas, we've got to wind it up there. I'd like to thank you all for coming on. It's been a good debate. Especially I'd like to thank Ken, Bob, John and Chris, of course, from the Super League, and Phil and Chris Murphy. Thanks a lot. Just the last word. Does the public want a Super League? Let's go to a break. More on the Footy Show after this. Sleep, you've been worrying, tossing and turning. Just tell us the reasons why it's all got to you.
Oh, well, basically it started Sunday night with a phone call straight after the game. But, mate, continually through it just been a battle to make sure the Newcastle Knights stay together. And as a team, we decided that's the thing we wanted to do. Practically, it's nearly impossible, but we tried our best. And basically, you know, the News Limited Corporation have been in town for the last 2 or 3 days. And the ARL come up on Tuesday night and spoke to us. And it's just been an uphill battle, and from key players signing to the ARL, and basically now to the point there, the Newcastle Knights are all with the ARL, apart from about 2 or 3. We've showed our alliance, and we're very happy.
Well, it's good news for Newcastle, of course. Chief, were you ever tempted to leave the ARL and go to the Super League?
Certainly on Monday morning, I went to the News Limited and I heard their offer, and it was very good. And
Can you tell us just what sort of figures they're talking?
Mate, no, I can't. But as far as the concept's concerned, it was mind blowing. And but in the light of day, if I signed up with News Limited, I still don't know where I'm going to be playing, who I'm playing for, and there's so many unanswered questions. It didn't do me any good. But I still believe today that they never had any intention of running the league itself. They don't have the ability or the infrastructure to do it. They were waiting to buy all the players and get the votes. And if they got all the players, they were going to then go to the league and say, well, you haven't got enough players, and maybe they'd come over and then they'd have to run it. They had no intention of ever doing that themselves. So they haven't got the players at the moment. So basically, they've got to look over to overseas to maybe get some more teams.
Well, Chief, you spoke of the team loyalty up there in Newcastle, and I guess the fact that you've been put across as the figurehead, you're the highest profile Newcastle player, I would imagine, test player, etc. That had to be added pressure for you as well, because everybody seemed to be looking at you, almost the way that you're personifying Newcastle as a whole.
Well, it kind of did, but having said that, I'll never compromise a friendship or the teamship and the players. I still was objective as I could be, and I had the facts, and basically a lot of the players didn't, because our club at that stage hadn't met with the ARL, and I think they'd met with News Limited, so they had the one side of the story. I had the facts on Monday morning, and I went down and, I organised a bus the next day and went down so they could get the offers and hear both sides of the story. It did put a little bit of pressure, but when I signed on, there was only like a handful of blokes that actually signed for the ARL, so at that particular stage, I didn't know what the competition was going to be, but I knew that the ARL had the answers, they had a competition that was going to be there, and as far as United's concerned, they had basically nothing. They couldn't answer a lot of questions, except they had some big dreams and the big wishes, and it just wasn't right. So when the Newcastle Knights got the facts and figures, they made their own mind up, and were lucky enough to stay as a team.
Yeah. If we can go to Adam Ritson. Adam, your story's been well documented. Your manager, in fact, who's with us, I think, Steve Gillis, handed a $50,000 cheque back to News Limited at some time over the weekend. Were you, at any stage on Friday in Perth, given a time limit on when to sign and how you were to sign the contract?
Not at all. They were very good about it. We had an opportunity to sign, and if we did at that certain time, we got a bonus check.
So in other words, if you signed by midnight, you got a bonus. So there was some sort of...
if we signed at that meeting, we got the bonus.
I should mention that's what Mr. Rebo refuted earlier. He said it didn't happen.
Exactly.
Adam, the hardest thing in rugby league, and especially for front rowers, is trying to establish yourself. That's what you'd be working on at the moment, but all this stuff during the week must have really blew your mind.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of surprised that we've been asked so many questions and that, considering the calibre of players that have signed with the ARL, and I'm just trying to concentrate on playing this weekend, and I've been excited by what's happened in the last week.
If the Cronulla club are out of the league, have you got any preference of the type of club that you'd like to go to?
No, not at all, mate.
One with the most money, would that be it, mate?
Well, that'd help, but no, I haven't really thought about it. If it does happen, I will cross that bridge when I come to it.
Well, Brad, you're probably, without no disrespect to any of the other players that haven't gone across, the highest profile player that has not joined News Limited. Your age, I thought, would have been an enormous attraction apart from your ability to News Limited. How hard have they chased you, and why haven't you been tempted across?
I spoke to News Limited just by the phone, and I was meant to have a meeting shortly after actually I signed with the ARL, so the meeting didn't occur, so I didn't actually find out what News Limited had to offer. But when I heard what the ARL were offering and how they were going to keep the competition going and they're going to start looking after some players, it just seemed too good an offer to refuse. So plus a few other players I signed straight away.
Tim and Jason, we'll get an answer from both of you. How important was the rep football aspect in your decisions?
It was important for me. I think the point that you make about Brad is that him being a young player, maybe the fact that so many of their players are older players is basically because they're getting towards the end of their career and they can see the dollar signs and they're going to take the money and run, so to speak.
What about yourself, Timmy?
Yeah, that was very important. But also what was important was that I'm with Balmain for another 2 years anyway, to the end of '97, and I'm with the ARL anyway there. So, you know, hopefully I want to represent through the next 3 years, and that was very important as well with me signing.
You young blokes, have you thought this week, gee, I know Lotto's on Monday and Thursday nights. It's been on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings, afternoons, night. I mean, can you believe the money that's been bandied around?
There's so many uncertainties about the terms with News Limited. There's money being offered from News Limited. There's money being offered from the ARL, and for mine, there's so much stability with the ARL. They have a competition. You're always going to be there. If we sign with the ARL, we stay loyal to them. We're always going to be able to play rugby league no matter what happens.
Sure.
Well, in the audience, just before, sorry mate, finish.
Well, the way I see it at the moment, that they want to start a Super League. They've got half the good players with the ARL, half the good players with the Super League. Neither one's going to have the competition that they wanted to do, so in some way they're going to have to get back together. If they want to take it to pay TV, they haven't got the players to do that.
In the audience, we happen to have two of the players' managers who look after probably 50-60% of all the players in the game today, Steve Gillis and Wayne Beavis. Just tell us, are players worth $600,000 and $700,000 a season? Steve?
Oh, there's no way in the world, Fatty. I think, as the boys are saying, they're winning the lottery. There's no doubt the biggest winners out of all of this are the players. They're going to make a mozza.
And managers.
And you. And the managers.
I've never seen you in a suit before, mate.
Actually, I parked next to Steve's Porsche when I drove up. He got it yesterday there.
But anyway, you know, they're going to make a mozza, and good luck to them, because they're the guys that play the game. Let me just say this too, Paul, but it's got to the stage now where we've got players getting a little bit greedy. They're getting offers from one camp, they're signing contracts, they're going to the other camp voluntarily, getting offers from there, and now they want out there. They want the lot. They don't want $250,000, they want $500,000. If they don't want $500,000, they want $1 million.
Yeah, I want two, to be quite honest, but anyway.
What about Wayne? You handle up the 200 players. Is that your situation as well?
Well, Ray, mine's been the middle ground. I mean, I'm sort of not for or against either side, and it's a matter of looking after the interest of the player. We've had offers from both camps. We've sat down, we've objectively looked at what both have to offer, and at the end of the day, the player makes his own decision.
You weren't consulted originally, but were you? The managers weren't involved when News Limited first went on these raids on Friday night and then Saturday night?
Well, I would have found that difficult, Ray. I mean, somewhere in Perth, somewhere in other places, you know, you can only be in one spot at the one time.
Yeah. Wait, sorry, if we look through the Rugby League week and we picked our top 100 players, okay, could we get a Super League out of the top 100 players? And then if we looked into the next top 100 players, my question is, how can you have a Super League if you haven't got the 12 or 16 teams?
Well, I haven't been privy to the information block, but I believe that there's 10 teams with a squad of 25, which gives us 250 players. Now, I think if anyone takes an objective look at our program at the moment, and no disrespect to the players that are in it, you'll struggle a bit once you get past 150.
Just quickly to wind up, have the players generally been represented well enough? I know that your guys have obviously been, but with legal representation, family representation, have they had a chance to speak to people who could make the ramifications of their decisions clear enough for them?
Well, I don't think they've been able to get qualified advice. I mean, the league had to respond as quickly as the others attacked. And I think that, you know, in those circumstances, people were put in an invidious position where they had to sign or walk away.
Well, thanks, Wayne and Steve, for coming in. I'd like to thank these four guys here, Adam, Jason, Timmy and Brad. These are the future. They are our game. Thanks for coming in, boys. We're going to try in the last minute to get the mighty Saints over their first win.
Who was that? Nathan Barnes?
Nathan Barnes. Yeah, like Nathan Brown. Great player. Nathan Barnes is a good player too. How am I going?
The Death Adders are
Oh, you've had another shocker.
So to talk about some of the traditions in the game, we've got some of the greatest names that we've ever seen in the game. We've got Jeff Carr, the current Australian manager, Norm Provan, Arthur Summons, and a player who used to smash all the time, Wayne Pearce.